Hãy like, đăng ký và chia sẻ nhé bạn. Trung tâm Ngoại ngữ Ngọc Vân chúc bạn một ngày vui vẻ.
Where would you like to travel?
Well, if I have $1 million, I want to go to New Zealand.
New Zealand? Why?
Because it has a beautiful landscape and a higher education.
Yeah.
And moreover, my friend is studying there, so I want to go there to be closer with him.
And you know what? New Zealand is on our bucket list too. And we have a friend who's Vietnamese who's coming, I've just messaged me now. They're on the coach to come here to celebrate. And she got her first of 2 master's degrees in New Zealand. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay, let's pick on you. If I gave you $1 million and you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
If I have $1 million, I would go to England.
England?
Because I would love to see the Big Ben Tower.
Ooh.
One of the most attractions
Yeah.
in England.
Yeah, attraction. Good, you corrected yourself. Yeah. That's a huge tourist attraction, isn't it? And what else? What else? Why would you want to go to UK? What would you eat? You gotta go now. There's something special. What do they serve in UK?
Like something like chocolate.
Chocolate? Isn't that France?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. We're just talking. How about fish and chips?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will try to get some fish.
I think the UK is famous for their fish and chips, but do you know what their number 1 international food is in England? It's Indian food. Butter chicken. Yeah. Has anybody had butter chicken?
Yes.
Delicious. Eh? Delicious. Yeah. Good. What else would you do in England?
I will go to the British Museum.
British Museum. That's what you like history. Good. I like it. Okay. Where are you going to go and why?
If I have $1 million, I will come to Dallas.
To Delat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Delat?
Yes, because I love it. I love this place.
Yeah.
This is it is known as celebration of flowers.
Yes. Flower Festival. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Now, you got $1 million. I'm a little bit more, obviously much older than you. May I suggest, $1 million will go a long way in Vietnam. Rent a private luxury travel van, take all your family, and make a gigantic tour all over Vietnam. Okay? Because $1 million will take you much farther than Dalat, right? And when we 7 years ago in Vietnam, we started up in Hanoi, went to Ha Long Bay, down to Hoi An, Da Nang, Hue, down to Ho Chi Minh, over to Mune, Phan Dien, and then back to Ho Chi Minh, Mekong Delta. When we traveled the countries, and same with China, started off in Beijing. From Beijing, we went down to Xi'an, down to Nanning, over to Guilin, and everywhere I went, I did couch surfing where you get to meet people. And a lot of times, if you don't have a lot of money, hello, my name is whatever, I'm coming to your city, can I stay over at your house for free for a couple nights? Yes, stay on my couch. Yeah. And Miss Kathy and I, we have opened our home up in the past to many travelers from Europe. And it's a great way, they love hosting English-speaking people because it's a great way for them to practice their English. Yeah. Who haven't I picked on? Where are you going to go and why?
If I have $1 million, I will come to Dallas.
To Dalat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Dalat?
Yes, because I love it. I love this place.
Yeah.
This is it is known as travel version of flowers.
Yes, Flower Festival, beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Now, you got $1 million. I'm a little bit more, obviously much older than you. May I suggest, $1 million will go a long way in Vietnam. Rent a private luxury travel van, take all your family, and make a gigantic tour all over Vietnam. Okay? Because $1 million will take you much farther than Da Lat, right? And when we, 7 years ago in Vietnam, we started up in Hanoi, went to Ha Long Bay, down to Hoi An, Da Nang, Hue, down to Ho Chi Minh, over to Mune, Phan Dien, and then back to Ho Chi Minh, Mekong Delta. When we traveled the countries, and same with China, started off in Beijing. From Beijing, we went down to Xi'an, down to Nanning, over to Guilin, and everywhere I went, I did couch surfing, where you get to meet people. And a lot of times, if you don't have a lot of money, hello, my name is whatever, I'm coming to your city, can I stay over at your house for free for a couple nights? Yes, stay on my couch. Yeah. And Miss Kathy and I, we have opened our home up in the past to many travelers from Europe. And it's a great way, they love hosting English-speaking people because it's a great way for them to practice their English. Yeah. Who haven't I picked on? $1 million. And good. It's nothing wrong with traveling within your own country. That's on my bucket list too. Miss Kathy and I, we've traveled together to the our East Coast, and I've traveled a distance to our West Coast, but Miss Kathy and I have never gone together out to Vancouver, British Columbia. Our country is so vast and huge. It's wild. Okay, back to you.
If I have $1 million,
Yeah.
I will go to island.
An island.
Yeah.
What island? There's millions of islands. Pook Island.
I think islands have many sensory and unique architect, and special in here that traffic light that parasite instead of red circle. And in the future, I want to go there to see aurora, and I think it's so a big money to travel. So I check a little bit to volunteer, have homeless people.
Yeah. And you know what? When I came 3 years ago here, I had money and I paid my own way. But I went through a travel group of volunteers called Help X. And Mrs. Vun had advertised that she was looking for volunteers to teach English at her school. And that's how we came here and fell in love with Van Rijn. And there's many different volunteer opportunities where you can travel in the country and save money. Generally, you do about 4 hours work a day. A lot of them are homestay farms. And in return, they will give you a couple light meals and a place to sleep. Yeah, that's good. Good. So yeah, you gotta watch the islands because the islands can get expensive because many tourists go to the islands. Last January, Miss Kathy and I wanted to go on a holiday, and we went back to the Dominican Republic, and we rented a private condo for a month and a half, but very expensive since COVID, very expensive. So yeah, you have to think of ways you can be thrifty. It's called stretching your dollar. So you get the best bang for your buck, so you spend your money wisely, right? Because everybody, give me your money, give me your money. And just like obviously I'm a tourist in Van Rijn. When you guys travel to Australia, to England, to wherever you want to go, well, not Canada, you'll be fine in Canada, because Canada is the melting pot of all cultures, but depending on where you go, you'll be noticed as a foreigner. Yeah. And you have to be careful when you travel because just like in Phan Rang and moreover in bigger cities like Ho Chi Minh, you have good people and you have bad people, right? So you know who the people who are steal and who rob you and that. So you have to be, when you travel, you have to be extra careful, right? Okay, good. Would you just go alone? Wouldn't it be boring traveling alone? Or take a friend? I like traveling with my wife, obviously, I have to say that. But last time we traveled together to Vietnam, but then my wife had to go back to work, and I then traveled to Thailand, and I taught there for a month. I was so bored, because you're lonely. This was my wife, I was away from my wife. Same as you will all go to university soon, and you'll be away from your family. You'll get homesick, right? And what else will you miss? You'll miss your family. What else will you miss if you travel to another place? Especially out of Vietnam. What are you going to miss? Yeah, you're going to miss Vietnamese food. You might be okay in Vietnam or in Australia because they have a huge Vietnamese population. I think Miss Van's son is there. Well, I know he's there, and he's actually got a job at a Vietnamese restaurant. So he probably gets lots of free Vietnamese food. But yeah, and I know my other friends from Da Nang who work in Vietnam, in Australia, they have a Vietnamese restaurant too. So yeah. And that is the same thing for me traveling. But after about 2 weeks, I'm tired of rice. I'm tired of noodles, or whatever the food is in that country that is popular. And that's why, and you see it here too, you have what's that barbecue place at Vincom? What's that called? Yeah, the Korean barbecue buffet. People want that. That's foreign, so it's something different than Vietnamese. The Thai Siam, that's a little bit different tasting than Vietnamese. So, yeah. But now, tomorrow, Miss Kathy and I, we're going to start renting a home, and we'll have a full kitchen. And so I'm looking forward to home-cooked meals. I have not had enough vegetables. I have to eat more vegetables, eat healthy, right? How about eating when you're traveling? That's hard because, especially Australia, it's expensive. Canada, it can be expensive. Yeah. Do you know that, is it cheaper to, and you all know it, cheaper to go to a market or a supermarket and buy food for a meal, right, than going to a restaurant? Because you're paying for them to prepare it. And Miss Kathy and I, when our kids were growing up, we would travel out to the East Coast and we'd have one meal in a restaurant, but we'd stretch our dollar, and at lunchtime we would go to a supermarket. We would buy some lunch meat, some banh mi, buns, bread, whatever, some fruit, and some water drinks, and we would save a lot of money. And I don't know if the hotels here have it, but I know in Thailand what we did is you find a hotel or a motel or a homestay or a hostel, a travel hostel that includes breakfast. So you're stretching your dollar, so you not only get a bed for the night, you get a free meal in the morning. Yeah. So you always have to think of those type of things. And now, all those countries you mentioned, what else do you have to worry about in some countries?